All right, this is going to be episode 4, a cold reading of the Anarchist Handbook, organized by Michael Malice. Tonight from the Aviary, the high deserts of SoCal. We're going to be beginning on page 14, and we'll get a few pages through it. This is part of the continuation of Max Stirner from The Ego and His Own, 1844. When the revolution stamped equality as a right, it took flight into the religious domain, into the region of the sacred, of the ideal. Hence, since then, the fight for the, quote, sacred, inalienable rights of man against the, quote, eternal rights of man, the, quote, well-earned rights of the established order, are quite naturally and with equal right brought to bear, right against right, where of course one is decided by the other as wrong. This has been the contest of rights since the revolution. You want to be in the right as against the rest, that you cannot, as against them, you remain forever in the wrong. For they surely would not be your opponents if they were not in their right too. They will always make you out in the wrong. But as against the right of the rest, yours is a higher, greater, more powerful right, is it not? No such thing. Your right is not more powerful if you are not more powerful. Have Chinese subjects a right to freedom? Just bestow it on them, and then look how far you have gone wrong in your attempt, because they do not know how to use freedom, they have no right to it, or in clearer terms, because they have not freedom, they have not the right to it. Children have no right to the condition of majority because they are not of age, because they are children. People that let themselves be kept in nonage have no rights to the condition of majority. If they cease to be in nonage, then only would they have the right to be of age. This means nothing else than, quote, what you have the power to be, you have the right to be. I derive all right and all warrant from me. I am entitled to everything that I have in my power. I am entitled to overthrow Zeus, Jehovah, God, Zosimo, if I can. If I cannot, then these gods will always remain in the right and in power as against me. And what I do will be to fear their right and their power, to impotent God-fearingness, to keep their commandments and believe that I do right in everything that I do according to their right. About as the Russian boundary sentinels think themselves rightfully entitled to shoot dead the suspicious persons who are escaping since they murder, quote, by superior authority, with right. But I am entitled by myself to murder if I myself do not forbid it to myself. If I myself do not fear murder as a, quote, wrong, this view of things lies at the foundation of Chamiso's poem, Das Mortal, where the gray-haired Indian murderer compels reverence from the white man whose brethren he has murdered. The only thing I am not entitled to is what I do not do with a free cheer. That is, what I do not entitle myself to. I decide whether it is the right thing in me. There is no right outside me. If it is right for me, it is right. Possibly, this may not suffice to make it right for the rest. That is their care, not mine. Let them defend Zosimo themselves. And if for the whole world something were not right, but it were right for me, that is, I wanted it, then I would ask nothing about the whole world. So everyone does who knows how to value himself, everyone in the degree that he is an egoist. For might goes before right, and that with perfect right. Because I am by nature a man, I have an equal right to the enjoyment of all goods, says Babeuf. Must he not also say, because I am by nature a firstborn prince, I have a right to the throne? The rights of man and the well-earned rights come to the same thing in the end, to wit, to nature, which gives me a right, that is, to birth and further inheritance. I am born as a man is equal to I am born as a king's son. The natural man has only a natural right because he has only a natural power and natural claims. He has right of birth and claims of birth, but nature cannot entitle me, give me capacity or might to that to which only my act entitles me. That the king's child sets himself above other children, even this is his act, which secures to him the precedence. And that the other children approve and recognize this act is their act, which makes them worthy to be subjects. Whether nature gives me a right or whether God, the people's choice, etc. does so, all of that is the same foreign right, a right that I do not give or take to myself. Thus, the communists say, equal labor entitles man to equal enjoyment. Formerly, the question was raised whether the, quote, virtuous man must not be happy on earth. The Jew actually drew this inference, quote, that it may go well with thee on earth. No, equal labor does not entitle you to it, but equal enjoyment alone entitles you to equal enjoyment. Enjoy, then you are entitled to enjoyment. But if you have labored and let the enjoyment be taken from you, then, quote, it serves you right. If you take the enjoyment, it is your right. If, on the contrary, you only pine for it without laying hands on it, it remains as before a, quote, well-earned right of those who are privileged for enjoyment. It is their right, as by laying hands on, it would become your right. The conflict over the right of property wavers in vehement commotion. The communists affirm that Zosimo belongs rightfully to him who tills it, and its products to those who bring them out. I think it belongs to Zosimo who knows how to take it, or who does not let it be taken from him, does not let himself be deprived of it. If he appropriates it, then not only the earth, but the right to it too, belongs to him. This is egoistic right. It is right for me, therefore it is right. Aside from this, right does have, quote, a wax nose. The tiger that assails me is in the right, and I who strike him down am also in the right. I defend against him not my right, but myself. As human right is always something given, it always in reality reduces to the right which men concede to each other. If the right to existence is conceded to newborn children, then they have the right. If it is not conceded to them, as was the case among the Spartans and ancient Romans, then they do not have it. For only society can give or concede it to them. They themselves cannot take it or give it to themselves. It will be objected, the children had nevertheless, quote, by nature, the right to exist. Only the Spartans refused recognition to this right. But then they simply had no right to this recognition. no more than they had to recognition of their Zosimo by the wild beasts to which they were thrown. People talk so much about birthright and complain. There is, alas, no mention of the rights that were born with us. What sort of right, then, is there that was born with me? The right to receive an entailed estate, to inherit a throne, to enjoy a princely or noble education? Alexa, stop. Or again, because poor parents begot me to get free schooling, be clothed out of contributions of alms, and at last earn my bread and my herring in the coal mines or at the loom. Are those not birthrights, rights that have come down to me from my parents through birth? You think, no, you think these are only rights improperly so-called. It is just, I apologize for that. It is just these rights that you aim to abolish through the real birthright. To give a basis for this, you go back to the simplest thing and affirm that everyone is by birth equal to another, to wit, a man. I will grant you that everyone is born as man. Hence, the newborn are therein equal to each other. Why are they? Only because they do not yet show and exert themselves as anything but bare children of men, naked little human beings. But thereby they are at once different from those who have already made something out of themselves, who thus are no longer bare children of man, but children of their own creation. The latter possesses more than bare birthrights. They have earned rights. What an antithesis! What a field of combat! The old combat of the birthrights of man and well-earned rights. Go right on appealing to your birthrights. People will not fail to oppose to you the well-earned, but stand on the, quote, ground of right, for each of the two has a right against the other. The one the birthright of natural right, the other the earned or well-earned right. And so we're going to just pause still partway through Max Stirner's essay on page 17 of the book. That was episode 4 of 10 minutes cold reading of the Anarchist Handbook, organized by Michael Malice. You should buy it and share it. Read physical books. Thank you.